Good afternoon and welcome to TYROLIT Tool School. The topic for today is about safety and protection and comfort for the operators, the people using cutting and grinding tools. And the first thing is very basic. Your personal protective gear, which needs to be consisting out of course, a jacket, an apron, gloves, not to forget, and of course also your safety mask and protection, our environmental protection, air and all that, and ear protection. So with all that said, we are ready to go. Of course, this is what you need, and I think this is also logical. This is normal, isn't it? Now the second thing that we're gonna just address it is your angle grinder. This one. This is, strange for some people, a two-hand tool. You work with this tool with both hands, two hands. That's where it's designed for. This is an angle grinder. And the last thing on this angle grinder is also the safety guard that needs to be in place. The reason why is because it protects you when something goes wrong. It will help you to stay free of injuries. So this is something that needs to stay on. Not like you will see on certain American shows and stuff like that, where there's nothing of that kind. So you do want that. You want to keep that on there. So this is basically what we want. This is how we're set. Now we're going to talk about a product that I like very much, and that in many cases is unknown to people. That's the reason why I do like to talk about that. And when I start talking about that, I need to go back to a normal slitting disc, a normal cutting disc. This is a 125 by 1, a standard product. This is the basic line, doesn't really matter in this case. The 125 by 1 for stainless steel basic version. So this is what everybody uses, or a lot of people are using for cutting and slitting operations. So, which is perfect. So what can you do with this disc? You can cut with it. Brilliant. Absolutely. Now the second question is going to be, what else do people do with this disc? And that's where it starts. This is where it starts, like, a little bit of light deburring, a little bit of chamfering, a little bit of removal of welding splatters even I've seen. Also, if you have a welding seam and you need to go alongside that in preparation for, they try to do that with a 125 by 1 or a 115 by 1, and you will find yourself in trouble at a certain point, because the disc is not made for that. It's very simple. The disc is not made for that. Has 2 layers of reinforcement. That's it. There's a resin in there. There's a grain in there. That's it. It's not designed for a lateral force. That's also the reason why there's a safety pictogram on there that says, don't use a lateral force. And a lateral force means grinding, deburring, anything like that. It's a disc for cutting and slitting. That's it. So if you do use that for something else, this is going to happen. You will break your disc. Now, if that disc breaks and your machine is running, you will run that at about 50 meters a second. 50 meters a second, you need to rework that to kilometers an hour. In miles an hour, I'm not sure on that one, but in kilometers an hour, it's between 180 and 220. So that's fairly fast when that blows up and can lead to injuries. So you want to avoid that. So you don't use a slitting disc for grinding purposes. No lateral force. Now, we at TYROLIT, we are very much aware that there are sometimes applications where it's not always easy to change from a slitting disc to a grinding disc, a flap disc, or anything like that, where you're in a position where you just have one angle grinder available and you need to change the whole time, or you're on a location where it's alongside a ship, for instance, where it's not that practical to change one disc to another. So what did we do? We designed the disc, this one, which is called the cut and grind. brilliant cut and grind. It's a disc, 2 millimeters, that you can use for cutting and grinding. A deep rest center gives it additional stability. The additional layer that's in there gives it additional stability. It leads to the point where this disc officially can be used for cutting and grinding operations. It does. So this is an ideal disc for any operation that is off-site, that's going to be on a remote location, maintenance, repair. You have a small van that you use for going somewhere, you need to do some stuff, you have the one angle grinder with you. This is the disc that helps you save time and work safe. It is 2 millimeters, so yes, it will cut a bit slower than a 1 millimeter disc, but you don't need to change if you need to deburr something, if you need to deburr what you just cut. So it helps you save time on that, and on top of that, it helps you to stay safe, because the disc can do both operations officially. The safety pictogram of not using a lateral force is removed from this disc. So this is officially a disc that you can use for both operations. Slitting, grinding, not a problem. The disc can do it. And on top of all that, it doesn't stop. You get a disc that can do steel and stainless steel. Yes, indeed, it is a 2-in-1. So I know marketing doesn't really like when I say that. It's, to me, it's like a 4-in-1. 4-in-1, cutting, grinding, steel, and stainless steel. And the last thing that I need to tell you about this disc is this metal ring on top of that you see there. This is what is called the deep cut protection, DCP, deep cut protection. When you go into a workpiece and you go pretty deep in there, that to avoid the risk that you're going to cut this part, to avoid that, it's a protection on top of that. So the metal ring will avoid that the disc will be cut in there. So it's called deep cut protection on the cut and grind. So that's a lot of talk about one single disc, but it's one of those discs that is worth it. Why? Because it is a 2 millimeter, just 2 millimeter disc that you can use for cutting and grinding, and it is safe. So the best thing to do with that is to show you what this disc can do, how it works, and what are the possibilities. Because as I said before, a lot of people don't even, or not even aware that the disc exists, and that would be a shame, because it does help in saving time and in working in a safe and easy manner. And at the end of this, I even tell you another example about what you can do with that disc, which makes things a little bit easier. So So, as you can see, nice cutting, and it does go smooth, it does go easy, even because of the 2 millimeters. Grinding, not a problem. Edge breaking, deburring, not a problem, even in a tighter spot. So if you would follow a welding seam and you need to go alongside that, it will do that as well, absolutely not a problem. So the disc is for that purpose absolutely ideal. Also, you can have it in 115, 125, and also in 178 millimeters. So if you go into pipes and stuff like that, this is a disc that actually can help you cut into a welding seam in preparation for putting on another one or two other ones. It's good for that. Now, the last thing that I want to tell you about this one disc is, imagine you have stainless steel pipes, about that size, about 5-6 millimeters thickness. If you use a normal slitting disc, you need to prepare your cut. Why? Because if you, with a 125 by 1, you would put it in there, force it down, actually the disc would bend away, because it's not stable enough. Now, so you prepare your cut, you go through that, absolutely not a problem. Perfect. Now, you use the cut and grind, puff, go in there, pull it down, the disc will absolutely do that. It is that stable. This is a comment that came from an operator that was actually working on big machine applications, so big projects that they were working on, and this was one of the things he liked about that disc. It was a bit slower for doing the cutting, but he gained a lot of time and it stayed absolutely straight. It doesn't bend in any way, it stayed straight. For him, that was a reason to work with a disc like that. So, and at the end of the line, it makes things safer. It's a nice disc to work with and it makes things safer. So that is the cut and grind. Another thing is, I mentioned the word before already, the DCP, Deep Cut Protection. We have a disc, the Deep Cut Protection disc, which is 1.2 millimeters with a depressed center, and again this metal ring, which is called the Deep Cut Protection. So why did we develop this disc? Is for those people, those guys working with 1.6 millimeter discs, straight ones, where they are a bit slower because they are 1.6 millimeter in comparison to a 1 millimeter disc, but they want that because of stability. So if that's the reason why you want to use a 1.6, this could be an alternative. The reason why is because of the depressed center. We can make it a 1.2 millimeters, gives you exactly the same stability as a 1.6, and we even protect it with a metal ring of getting deep into your workpiece to avoid that this part is cut off, so that you have two discs, a small and a big one. You don't want that. So this is basically what you can get with this disc. A 1.2 is comparable to a 1.6 in stability, but gives you almost the cut of a 1 millimeter disc. This is what it can do. So the quality wise or specification wise, you will get that in steel. For steel applications, you can have a 2-in-1, steel and stainless steel, of course, and you can also have it in a stainless steel version. It's now also available just as a straight disc, not with, of course, then it's not going to be called deep cut protection because there's no need for a deep cut protection. And in this case, this is a deep cut protection as a protective measure to avoid that the disc is cut in two. Other than that, very stable, nice to work with, and I want to show you exactly or specifically the deep cut protection on this steel plate, thin steel plate, where I will go pretty deep in to show you how that metal hub protects the disc of being cut into two parts. There we go. So, quick demonstration, just cut in there. As you could see, I went pretty deep in there. You can see that the metal hub has been touched, has been slightly, you see scars on there, you see marks on there from going very deep into that workpiece, but it protects the disc of being cut in two. This is what that disc or that metal part will do. The deep cut protection will indeed protect that disc. So this is what I wanted to show you on the smaller ones. Now something else. Something else is the following. Now the big one, a big wheel. And on the big wheel, I mean a 230 by 1.9 or 2 millimeter disc. This is that one. So in this case, it's a steel one, absolutely fine. As you can see, a thinner one. Now, what happens when you talk about a disc like that is, then you ask people, how does it work? And then people will say, it works like it's vibrating. It's doing this. There we go. You see, this is exaggerating, okay? This is exaggerating, but this is what it does. And that is not really nice, is it? It's not really nice when a disc starts doing that. The reason why is, if you need to cut in right on that specific area there, so what the people are going to do is they'll focus on that, they use force, the disc bends. If it goes bad, it really bends too far, it will blow up. So the moment it gets into the cut, it stabilizes, you're done. Fine, absolutely okay, be back okay. But it's annoying. And then you think like, oh, those manufacturers of abrasives, that's not okay. Well, we try to do whatever we can, but still, it's a thin disc. We try to put the glass fiber in a specific way to avoid as much of this problem as possible. But let me show you something to explain a little bit. This is a normal disc, a normal angle grinder, 125 by 1. And I have, of course, I have also the big one here. Now look at that. There we go. Look at this. Yeah, there it will come. There we go. Look at that. The flange for both machines are exactly the same. I can change them. I can change from one to another. Doesn't matter. It's exactly the same thing. So does that make a little bit of a difference? Well, let's put it like that. Where's it all? Ah, there we go. Yes, it makes a difference. Of course it makes a difference, because this is a small one, this is a big one. The biggest diameter of cutoff wheel that we make is 2 meters. 2 meters has also exponentially a big flange for that. It needs to have that, otherwise it's not stable. This is exactly the same problem. So what did we do to help you with that problem? So the first thing you need to do is remove all that, and you get yourself this, a small set of an additional flange of 76 millimeters. This will help you to stabilize the big wheel. So first of all, you remove your flange, the original one. You put on the first part, click in, nice in there. Then you put on your disc. You put on the second one. And you fix it. That's it. This will give your disc extreme stability. It will make the whole thing much more stable. It will help to support a large, thin cutoff wheel. So if you work with wheels like that, with discs like that, try to use an additional flange to give the wheel the stability it needs, it requires, to make it easier for you, make it safer for you. Also, the flange will fit on most machines, but not all of them. I have to point that out, just that you are aware of that. But it fits on most of the machines, and this is how it looks like. It gives you absolutely a very nice, stable surface. It will make the disc run absolutely very, very smooth. I'll give you a small, quick demonstration of that on what we've used before. Quickly go through that you'll see how stable that is. I'm very well aware that this is a small demonstration, but it gives you an idea about what it does. very nice and straight. This was the last part from the cut before. Very nice and straight. No vibration, no additional vibration on that one. Also a very nice clean cut. It helps to make it easier to work with a large, thin cut-off wheel. So ideal for that. Other than that, it's still a big and heavy machine. But that's something else. So, something else. Not about safety, but about comfort. About comfort. What do I mean about comfort is when you need to start working with a new grinding disc. A new grinding disc, you always have this straight edge. You take a new disc, you have this straight edge that will make it a little bit more difficult to start working with it. Because if you work like that, it's not a problem. You move back forward, you use a little bit of pressure, the disc can plunge into your workpiece because of the pressure. What do a lot of people do? They take a new disc, go to a piece of scrap metal, start working on that, break that edge to make it more comfortable to work with. Now what have we done? We actually created a comfort start, meaning we broken the edge on those discs. So you can see that there's a small V groove in there. That's exactly it. We actually made this a bit easier, more comfortable to start working with a new grinding disc. So anything between 6 and 7, 8 millimeters of thickness has this comfort start. So most of our discs do. So this makes it easier for the operator to work with. In this case, I have a Z Max for steel. I can take a 2-in-1 for steel and stainless steel. I have the one for aluminum. They all have that. I even have a basic, there we go, a basic fast cut, which is our best looking disc we have. I admit it looks pretty cool. So this is all possible. So you will have a comfort start to make it a little bit easier for you, for the operator, to start working with a new disc. A very quick demonstration on that to show you that even with a bit of pressure, there's not going to be a problem. In this case, I'm going to use the basic fast cut to do that easy demonstration. There we go. As you can see, without a problem, a lot of pressure, this goes back and forth, no problem at all whatsoever. It does this very, very good. And I must admit, for a fast cut, it really is cutting fast. So this is a nice little disc with a comfort start on it. So as you can see, quite a bit of material removed there. Now the last thing that I want to show you is a brush, a wire brush with a protective feature. When I say a protective feature, I talk about a wire brush with a shield function. The shield function is this plastic skirt that actually, when you start working with the wheel, with the brush, that actually will expand and will protect the operator about metal parts flying off, of fibers flying off of your metal brush, so for your wire brush. So it will protect the operator against that. And why is this important? Why can this be important? I know a company that was using wire brushes to clean up very large drills for construction purposes that really go into the ground to build in pillars and so on and so on. So they need to clean them. They were using wire brushes for that. It was absolutely perfect. It was the ideal tool for that. But they had an accident. So one of those wires broke off, hurt somebody, so they stopped working with them. So, but there was no alternative because of the shape of that piece. So they actually were allowed to use wire brushes again because of the shield function, because it protects the operator. So this is one of the things, one of those features, one of those moments that this feature actually made a difference. So I'm going to do a very easy demonstration. I have a big part of cast iron there with a lot of, well, there used to be a lot of rust on there, but we've done a couple of tool schools today, so there's not that much left. So I'll show you on there how you can use that. That can also be on welding seams, cleaning up on welding seams, and so on, where you would normally use a wire brush for. So, as you can see how the skirt expands, if a wire would break off, it would protect me against that wire. It would fall or will fly against the plastic and fly off. It would not hurt me or somebody that is standing around there because of that plastic support or cover protection. So this is it from my side. I would say thank you very, very much for joining us. I'm absolutely looking forward to the next time when we'll talk about different stuff. So stay tuned and thank you very much. Wish you all the best. Take care. Cheers. Bye-bye.